everybody. This is Penelope with Urban Spools, and this morning we are going to be talking to one of our youngest team members here, Myers. She started her sewing journey here at Urban Spools and is going to be talking to us about that journey as well as kind of her next steps after graduating from high school and kind of what she's going to be doing. She's also the owner and Chief Creative Designer Officer, what do we call you?
Yes.
Of Myers Made. So we're going to be talking about that with her today as well. So hope you're excited and ready to learn a lot about Myers.
Yes, thank you, Penelope.
Yeah, awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about how you started on your sewing journey?
Yeah, so my grandmother was always a sewer and a creator, and I'd always grown up watching her, and I always really admired her and her creative spirit. And I started hand embroidery when I was about 5 years old, and she taught me how to do that. And then I just wanted to learn more. And so I asked her to teach me how to sew, and she said, no, you need to learn from a professional how to sew. She said, don't ask me. So then my mother and I stumbled upon Urban Spools, and I started sewing here in about the 4th grade. I took an intro to sewing kids camp here, and I remember going out and buying a machine the day before. And you know, if I would have known better, I would have bought one from here because the machines here are really great. And I didn't even know how to sew a straight line, and we were doing a kids mini quilt, and I just remember coming in being so nervous and just starting to sew, and then the teacher just really relieved me because she just sat me down and she just taught me how to sew, and we just went through it slowly. And you know, I had to rip out some stitches, but she ripped them out for me.
I don't think that is unusual at all. I remember that as a kid too, is when my mom taught me how to sew. I think begrudgingly, but I also did go to sewing camps in the summer. But yeah, that ripping stitches out is not a foreign thing even now, right?
Right. But you know, once she was able to help me, it really grew my confidence to be able to come back the next week and just like, okay, like I'm gonna learn. I want to do this. And so just the help, and I really liked getting to meet other girls that were learning how to sew. That was really fun, and getting to grow relationships with not only the other girls but with the teachers and the staff here at Urban Spools.
That's awesome. So, that's really exciting. And so what are your favorite things to sew?
Yeah, so I really love to sew any like little bags, kind of more like accessories. But something that I sew a lot would be my sweatshirts that I sell for my business.
Okay.
So I do sweatshirts. I just buy sweatshirts on Amazon, and then I embellish them with words, with fabric on them that I get here from Urban Spools. And I do those a lot, and that kind of sewing, more like the embellishing, I really, really like that.
Awesome. What inspired you to start your business? And how did that kind of start? Sorry.
Yeah,
secondary question.
So actually, another camp here at Urban Spools, I all throughout elementary, once I started sewing, I just kept taking camps and just really learned how to grow my confidence with sewing. And you know, that's something that I really do love about sewing, is you can always learn something new, and you can always perfect what you've already learned. And so that really, being able to come here to Urban Spools gave me a space to be able to do that. And the people with the knowledge to be able to help me to do that. And so one of the camps, we were making a wallet, and it was out of material called Craftex, and I'd never heard of it before, and I'd made one for my mother for Mother's Day. And she'd had the wallet, and at stores, you know, people would be like, oh, that's so cute. And she'd be like, my daughter made it. And then some of my mom's friends started asking where they could get them. So I just thought, well, I'll just start making them for people and start selling them. So I had a few friends contact me, and then I decided to come up here to Urban Spools and buy a bunch of fabric, and I went online. I took pictures of all the fabric. I printed it out and put it on a laminated sheet, and I went to my sister's basketball games, and I would go around in the stands and sell them to people. I would just show them the samples, and that's really how I started, was with a wallet here that I made in the camp.
So you really were like hustling at the basketball games to get those wallets sold.
Yeah. So I believe that was about when I was in the 6th grade. I started that.
Wow.
So yeah.
And now you're graduating.
And now I'm graduating high school.
So wow.
Yes.
Yeah, that's quite a transition. So wallets to kind of accessories?
Yeah, more accessories. I did like some kids, like bibs and like little skirts and stuff like that. And then about 2 years ago, I started the sweatshirts. And so that's what I do mainly right now.
Mainly sweatshirts. So sweatshirts kind of embellished with like fun, funky fabric.
Fun fabrics and anything that you wanted to say. Like I do a lot of states like Texas. I've done some colleges and like I've branched over into like some tie-dye ones. So yeah.
Cool. That's neat. So do you tie-dye the sweatshirts yourself?
Yes. So I do. I'm working on getting another tie-dye one and with like a white background and colored dye, and then one that I do right now is they're colored sweatshirts, and they're actually called like reverse tie-dye, which they're done with bleach.
Oh, very
so
cool.
I do those. Yes, those are all hand dyed by me.
Nice, that's awesome. So curating the fabric for the words,
yes,
right? Sewing them on.
Sewing them on.
By machine or by hand?
Yes, by machine.
Okay, so do you still work with your embroidery that you very first started with? Yes,
so I do lots of embroidery like on the side, and you know that's definitely a different type of sewing. It's more definitely more personal, so sometimes it's harder to sell those because they do take longer. But I actually do teach a intro to hand embroidery class here at Urban Spools, and this is actually one of our samples here of just like some different stitches that you can learn. And it's a really great class if you're just wanting to try something new. And sometimes I teach it, sometimes we have our other wonderful teacher, Miss Ashley, teach it. So it's a really great class for adults if you want to learn. And then we're actually, this summer, we're going to do an intro to handwork with kids.
Awesome.
So a kids summer camp, and that's going to be really fun. They're going to learn hand sewing, a little bit of embroidery, and even some sashiko stitching.
Yeah, I feel like that's a great way to kind of get introduced to sewing. I know, like you said, your grandmother taught you embroidery first. My mom taught me embroidery and needlepoint first as well, and then we moved on to the sewing machine because I think for a lot of parents, sitting a child down at a sewing machine can be a little intimidating, a little scary because you've got that needle going, and but definitely I think it is something kids can conquer, right? Obviously, a lot of us have, but having a maybe external teacher might be a little less stressful, right? Like your grandma said, like you have to, have somebody else teach you who is a little bit more professional, even though I'm sure she was like fabulous. A lot of people don't understand how talented they really are, right?
Yeah.
So what do you plan to do now? So as we mentioned, you're graduating, right? So what are the next steps with Myers and with Myers Made? Yeah,
so I'm planning to go to Pepperdine University in the fall and study business there. And I am hoping to continue my business. That's kind of why I am majoring in business, is because that is really my goal, is to be able to develop my own business through sewing and just being able to create a product that's personal to people and that means something else to them. And that's something that I really admire about sewing, that I think this year, really during the pandemic, that I learned is that sewing is not just something that's for yourself, but it is also for other people.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you have, something that you can make and you can give that to someone, but that also can inspire other people creatively. And so I think it's something kind of like the gift that keeps on giving a little bit, so it really can go further than you think. And that's what I want to do with my business. And so I want to, hopefully be able to keep it during college and stuff. So I'll be reaching out to some places out in Malibu where Pepperdine is, about maybe putting some sweatshirts in some boutiques. I actually have some sweatshirts here in Dallas at a boutique called the Tea Shop. So
Awesome. So how do you feel that sewing has influenced and impacted your life? Obviously, you've got your business, and it's kind of really spurred you on to your education, right? And kind of inspired you in that way. Do you feel like it's affected your life in other ways that you didn't necessarily think it would?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, I think it's definitely grown my patience because, just even from a kid, like I've always been like a really energetic person, and sometimes, just need to settle down. And so sewing was very good for me to just learn to be patient and, take time on things. And, I think one big way is just the sewing community. And that's something that I've really been grateful here at Urban Spools, because not only have I learned to sew here, but I actually have a job here in the summer, and I'm able to work here part-time, and I have so many great people around me that really inspire me, and that's really what's kept me sewing, is because of the community, and that, I'm not afraid to ask questions with people. People are open and they want you to learn. And I just think being able to continue to learn has been a big thing.
Yeah.
But I also think that, sewing has really kind of in a weird way has like influenced my faith a lot, because, during the pandemic and everything, well, actually before the pandemic, I went to meet this lady. Her name's Candace Cameron Bure. And she had
Full House, right?
Yeah, she's DJ on Full House. And she had a book signing, and so my mom and I went, and I gave her a gift basket, and I put a sweatshirt in it. And I gave it to her, and I didn't really think much about it. And, a few days later, she had posted my sweatshirt on her Instagram.
Oh, wow.
And so that was kind of like a big, moment for like my Myers Made, and kind of really helped me continue sewing, because I wasn't, my business was running a little slow then, and I didn't know where it was going. But when she reposted it, and I got like 50 orders for my sweatshirts that day, and that's really, what I was like, okay, this is what I need to be doing. This is how I want to, continue my life. I want to be sewing. I want to be able to help people, communicate with them to give them a product that they really love. And, that happened, and I grew a lot of followers on my Instagram. And then that was in January. And then March happened, COVID.
Yeah.
And, I'd done some projects, was getting used to it. And then my sister, once COVID went for a month, within 2 weeks, my sister was like, well, why don't you start making masks? And I was like, well, we'll see, So I decided, I was like, well, I'll just donate masks, because there was a shortage then. So I posted a picture with me in a mask, and I got 100 orders that day for masks. So, that was a big thing.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
It really, every day after online school, I would go and I would like have to do 20 masks a day. And so, and my parents would be up there. So it's like, it's kind of crazy. It just like, it really grew my relationship with my parents. Just, them helping me, and, just with, I felt like the community around me, and just being able to help people that I didn't even know that had these struggles, that were living just a few streets over. And, it really gave me something to do, and I felt like it really kept my mental health up. It just gave me something to do, felt like I had, like a purpose. And, I ended up donating 500 masks.
Oh, wow.
So
awesome.
in around August. And so I was really grateful for that, and just how, for me personally, that, God provided for me during that time to be able to do that. And I was really thankful for that. And thankful for Urban Spools, that what they did during the pandemic, just being able to, just do curbside pickup, and have elastic, and have, fabric. And that's another thing, is a sewing community, just texting like, hey, who has fabric, who has elastic, just being able to, really come together.
Yeah, I feel like that did happen a lot, especially, it happens normally. Like, I know I've texted, a lot of my coworkers here at Urban Spools, being like, does anybody have even a little scrap of this one specific fabric? I'm, gotta finish my quilt.
Yes.
But yeah, definitely during the pandemic, I know it was calls for elastic, calls for fabric, and I think you're right. Like, the community really came together, and I also really enjoy that about the sewing community, is that we do have that. It can be a solo sport, or it can be a full-on community. It just kind of depends on what you want it to be that day, even.
Right. And so that's why I think, just getting started here with camps as a kid, just learning, people's names, and just learning the team members, and just really getting to work with them to be able to create something, and, and then have the tools here at Urban Spools to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I know you've been talking about the camps. What kind of camps are we offering this summer?
Yeah, so this summer we're going to have some intro to sewing camps, and those are going to be, we have one for kids ages 8 to 11, and then we have one for kids ages 12 to 15, I believe. And we actually have, they're going to be doing projects like, first of all, just learning the machine, and then we've got like a tissue holder here, a hacky sack, and that's actually a little American Girl doll dress.
That we could definitely like upsize, right? Like that style can be upsized.
Yeah.
That's probably something else depending on how much time they have that they might be able to learn, right?
Yeah, so that's going to be really great for the kids. And you know, something with like, oh, intro to sewing, you think, okay, well, do they need a sewing machine? So here at Urban Spools, we sell baby lock sewing machines, and they are absolutely wonderful, and I would 100% recommend them for any kid. And we actually have a package on one of our sewing camps for the intro that they can actually buy the machine that they will use here for the week, and they can take it home at the end of the camp. And that's a really great deal because also anytime something goes wrong with your machine, you have a question, bring it up here to Urban Spools. We have fabulous techs that know how to work on the machines and answer any questions. So that is definitely a big plus for our intro to sewing. And then we also are doing, so once kids have kind of like gotten the intro to sewing, we have a sewing for your bedroom camp, which they'll learn how to do like this pillowcase here.
Fun.
That will be really fun. We have we have sewing for the kitchen, which will make a little apron, so kids that like to cook, stuff like that. And then we will do a sewing for the outdoors. So we'll have like a little drawstring bag. For the older kids, maybe a little bucket hat. And then we also have, I believe we have the intro to handwork.
Yeah.
So that'll be, you know, embroidery, sashiko, hand sewing, and
just lots going on.
yeah, lots going on.
Do we have questions?
Yeah, you
Awesome.
have so many fans on Instagram. Shannon Montgomery says, when I grow up, I want to be Myers. And she also asks, can adults come and learn to sew?
Yeah, so we actually offer a lot of just regular sewing classes for adults. So just like one-day classes, you know, for an intro, and those are all listed on our website, urbanspools.com. And then, you know, we also have intro to hand embroidery, intro to hand sashiko, and even intro to any of our like machines that you want to learn.
Garment, sewing, whatever you want. We definitely have got a large variety of classes. No adult summer camps yet.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe next year if we get enough call for it.
You
like
know?
that could be fun, right?
Yeah.
Like I would do that. But yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for the questions. Appreciate that. Who wouldn't want to be Myers when they grow up? She's so motivated, so inspiring. I think it's awesome.
Thank you.
Jenny Rickerson says, hi Myers, you're an inspiration to us all.
Aw.
And Rickers on NC says, entrepreneur goals, muscles.
Thank you.
So they're loving it.
Oh.
That's awesome. That's so exciting.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I am thinking here about your inspiration and keeping like the sewing community going, right? And how you want your products to be really, you know, something that people can really relate to. So you talked about going, you know, when you're going to school, how you're going to, you know, source out, try to find boutiques and things like that. Any ideas on what the next products might be? Any like sneak peeks?
Yeah, so maybe I'm thinking about, you know, doing, you know, more sweatshirts and more variations with that. But something that I've really been looking into is doing some embellishing with hats.
Okay.
So like kind of like the flat rim, like all the way around hats, maybe with like some embroidery embellished on those. So just some technical stuff I have to figure out with those. But yeah, I'm definitely thinking about that. And always trying to think about new things, you know, trying to think about, you know, doing a website, you know, that's something that's really important to me, trying to get going. So just little things here and there. So yeah.
All right, awesome. Oh, I think we maybe have another question.
Two questions from Danita. What is your favorite thing to make, and are you taking your sewing machine to college?
My favorite thing to make, I don't know, this one's kind of a little different, but I really like to do garments every once in a while. I don't do them too often. I usually only do them around Christmas and Mother's Day for my mom. But I've picked up a few patterns here, and I really like doing that because I think it's just really neat how you first start with a bolt of fabric and then you cut it into all these little pieces, and then it's just something that you can wear every day. And it always makes me think about like the clothes that I buy, and how, just thinking of like where the clothes coming from, and that's something that really is important to me, as a new, thing that's coming up now is like sustainability about clothes and, where the clothes are coming from. And so I think that's something really interesting, and that's something that I really do like to do.
Awesome. So she also is wondering, are you taking your sewing machine to school? How are you going to find time to hustle so hard and do well at Pepperdine?
That is a good question. I've definitely been thinking about it. I feel like my sewing machine a little bit is a part of me, So, that's going to kind of come down to, I think, my roommate as well, how she's going to feel comfortable with the sewing machine going at, hours of the night.
Yeah.
But I definitely have found a few sewing studios in the area. So that's something to think about, with, places that have sewing machines and, kind of branching out into a new sewing community out there. So that's something that I'm definitely thinking about. So
awesome, yeah. I know back in the day when we had an active blog, I think Fiona, I don't know if anybody is familiar or remembers Fiona, but she I think wrote a post about how she had just one of those little like IKEA carts and made a little sewing center that she kept with her at college. So side note, if you need some inspiration on that, it's there, just in case. So that is awesome. I am so excited for your next steps, Myers.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you have to, always come back, and you're going to be with us this summer still,
yes,
right?
I'll be with you all this summer.
Okay, good.
And I'll be teaching actually one of the intro to sewing camps for the kids. And then I'll also be doing a sewing for the bedroom camp.
Awesome.
And I believe a sewing for the kitchen camp. Okay,
so anybody wants some inspiration, we've got it built in right here. She'll be with us all summer until she has to leave to go to Malibu. Like, so jealous. But that's so exciting. And thank you very much for taking the time to sit with us today and tell us about your sewing journey.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Awesome.
Yes. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining. Hope you'll have a lovely day.